All right. Well, my mount just broke on my selfie stick. So that was a real life durability test. Okay, things have gotten out of hand around here, and this is my current action camera test rig. Today, we're gonna be talking about this camera in particular. This is the brand new Insta360 Ace Pro 2. Can you imagine running around with this? This is what I do for you. I hope you appreciate it. If you're unfamiliar with Insta360, they released this camera about a year ago. This is the Insta360 Ace Pro, or Ace Pro 1, I'll call it in this video. And this camera represented a pretty big shift for Insta360 as a whole, because the brand primarily focused on 360 action cameras up until this very camera. And a lot of people adopted this camera because it had a lot of cool features. It had this crazy flip out screen on the back here, but it also had really impressive low light capabilities, which were really amazing compared to all of the other cameras on the market. However, all of the other cameras like the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro and the new GoPro Hero 13 Black have gotten a lot better over the past year as well. So Insta360 has come out with the new Ace Pro 2 to remedy a lot of the minor quirks that were present on the original Ace Pro. So in this video today, I'm gonna walk through all of the new features and specs. Along the way, I'll be sharing a lot of side-by-side comparisons from all of these cameras, and I'll be talking about what I like and what I don't like about this new camera, because there are a few things. It's got a lot of impressive features, but a couple of quirks as well. Oh yeah, one more thing before we dive into the rest of this video. I do want to let you know that Insta360 did send me this camera early for testing to create this video on launch day. However, they did not pay me any money. The video is not sponsored. They didn't get to see this video before you. They didn't have to approve anything. This is just my video, but they did give me the camera. So do with that what you will. Okay, let's move on. The first topic we need to talk about before we get into anything else is going to be the price of the new Ace Pro 2. This camera does come in at $399 here in the USA, which I think is the same price as the original Ace Pro 1 when it was released, so not a huge shocker there. And that price puts it right in line with all of the competition, whether that be the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro or the new GoPro Hero 13. And if you are interested in picking up your very own Ace Pro 2, I'll have some links in the description down below. Those links do help support the channel, but they cost nothing extra to you. With the pricing out of the way, let's dive into the actual hardware on the Ace Pro 2 here. So as you can see, it bears a striking resemblance to the original Ace Pro 1. However, right off the bat, there's going to be a couple of things you will notice. First of all, is this new windscreen on the microphone. This is super interesting. It actually pops off. You slide it to the right, and then you can remove that cover entirely. And underneath here, there's a little opening for the microphone itself. Inside this little microphone cover is actually a bunch of soft foam. So the opening of the microphone is protected by this little windscreen here, greatly reducing the amount of wind that's gonna hit that microphone and cause all of that. All right, now I have the cameras facing forward, and I'm talking to the cameras behind them to see what this is like, because the wind is now hitting these cameras straight on. I'm curious if you can still hear my voice. The cool thing about this is that it's actually replaceable. So Insta360 recommends that if you're doing anything wet, if you're in the water, if you're swimming, or even out in the rain, they don't recommend using this little microphone cover because it can actually get saturated in water and cause the microphone to be a little bit muffled sounding. They do recommend swapping it out for this little cover that actually comes in the box alongside that other cover, and this just pops in the same place. Aside from the little windscreen here, there is another major difference on the new Ace Pro 2. And this was highly requested from just about every user out there in every review. Finally, you can replace the glass on the front of the camera. The little lens cover here actually comes off. It's a little bit tricky to get off if you use some muscles. So if you twist it, it rotates and you can simply pop it off. When you flip them on their sides, you can see that the new Ace Pro 2 on the right is slightly different. It has a new button here instead of the pull down tab for the battery door on the old one. On the old Insta360 Ace Pro 1, the battery door was permanently attached and would not be removed. On the new Ace Pro 2 here, you can actually remove the battery door. And this is actually a minor complaint of mine with the new battery door. So as you can see, it opens just like the old one, but if you go up high with it and you keep pushing, it just falls off. The battery door is removable now, but it's also super easy to detach. Now you might be wondering, why does that battery door remove while the old one didn't? That's simply because Insta360 is releasing some additional accessories for the battery door. Jumping over to the other side here, you can see that they are nearly identical. You've got a power button and mode select button up top here. You've got a little opening for the stereo microphone on the side. And then at the bottom here, you do have the same little door for the USB opening for the Type-C interface as well. The old door, as you can see, just kind of flapped around. This new door will actually stay open. It actually locks out. Oh yeah, before we move on, I wanted to mention one quick party trick about the new Insta360 Ace Pro 2 here and its USB Type-C port, that you can actually use this for reverse charging and then charge your phone from your action camera. Keep in mind, this doesn't have the biggest battery in the world. It's not going to charge an iPhone to full, but if it dies and you need to make an emergency phone call, that could be pretty useful. Flipping the cameras over, another similarity is that both cameras do have the same quick release system. This is the same magnetic mount as the old version. However, it's been tweaked a little bit. So if we look at the old quick release version here, you can see that the buttons on the side are sort of flush with the mount. They've tweaked that a little bit on the new design and made the buttons proud of the surface of the mount. So you can actually feel them very easily. There's like a notable click to them going inside the body. Another welcome change to the mounting system on the Ace Pro 2 is in the way it mounts to the magnetic mount. So as you can see on the Ace Pro 1, you could sort of put it in the state where it's not fully seated to the quick release mechanism here. And if you kind of just push it on there, it looks like it's secure, but then you go to use it, and the camera can fall off pretty easily. Now, the new version of the mount, when you seat this at all, you can hear it. It just clicks in. It fully clicks in, and now it's fully secure and can't fall off. On the old version, you'd have to put it in and like give it a hard push, and then it would be secure. And one more thing about this mount is that on the old one, if you wanted to flip the camera around on your mount, so you had it facing forward and then you wanted to flip the mount around, it was really hard to secure that because the magnet inside was actually fighting you. On the new version, that magnet does not fight you as much, and it's a lot easier to secure it in both directions. So if we take a look inside the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 here, there's a new battery. Now, the cool thing about this new battery, and this is something that DJI did as well with the new Action 5 Pro, this battery is the same form factor as the old battery. And the only way to tell them apart is that the Ace Pro 1 battery actually says Ace Pro on it in tiny text, and the new battery just says Insta360. That's the only difference I can find. The original Ace Pro battery was only 1,650 milliamp hours. This new battery is 1,800 milliamp hours, so considerably more capacity, even though it's the same form factor. And yes, this new battery is backwards compatible as well. Thanks to the larger capacity on the new Ace Pro 2 battery, this battery now lasts up to 180 minutes in 4K 30 or 1080p. That's a really long time, and in my testing so far, those claims do hold up. The new Ace Pro 2 also has another trick up its sleeve, in that it does support fast charging as well. And if you do plug in the Ace Pro 2 to the right power source, you can charge up to 80% on the battery in just 18 minutes. Hey there, a quick interruption. If you're finding this video helpful or fun or anything, please consider going down and giving me a big old thumbs up and subscribing to the channel down below, because that really helps me out. And it turns out only like 10% of you are subscribed, so go do it, okay? Back to the video. All right, let's take a look at the actual interface on these cameras, because you'll notice another pretty big change to the new Ace Pro 2. On the left, I've got the Ace Pro 2. On the right is the Ace Pro 1. And one thing you'll notice is how crisp the text looks on the new Ace Pro 2, and that's because this got a new display. Not only is this bigger, it's a 2.5-inch display compared to the 2.4-inch display on the Ace Pro 1, but it's also brighter and has higher resolution. It's not a major difference, but it is certainly a nice to have. Now keep in mind, this is still not an OLED display like what DJI used on their cameras. It's still an LCD, but it's a really good, very bright LCD. When it comes to durability, the Ace Pro 2 also has a couple of advantages there as well. Insta360 claims that they've updated the folding mechanism on the back of the camera here with the screen to be much more durable compared to the Ace Pro 1. Now, I never had an issue with the original Ace Pro 1 when it came to that folding screen, but now it's more durable and robust, and I think they tested this to open and close like 100,000 times or something crazy like that. On top of the display being more robust, they've also improved the waterproof rating on the new Ace Pro 2 as well. This camera can now go down to depths of 39 feet without a dive case, but that's enough about the hardware. Let's talk about the image quality. That's what this thing's all about, right? So the new Insta360 Ace Pro 2 actually has the same sensor size as the original Ace Pro 1. It's got a 1/1.3 inch sensor. It is an 8K sensor, just like the Ace Pro 1 with an asterisk. This new sensor is also capable of shooting 50 megapixel stills, which is pretty wild. Another advantage when it comes to image quality is that the new Ace Pro 2 also has a slightly wider field of view of 157 degrees compared to the Ace Pro 1's 151 degrees. Now, that's not a huge difference if you're someone that's like vlogging or doing anything normal like that, but if you are mountain biking or you're riding a motorcycle or anything where the camera's really up close and personal, you're gonna notice that extra field of view. Another update to the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 is that it now has a closer minimum focus distance. On the Ace Pro 1, that was a huge complaint. In my testing so far, when it comes to the minimum focus distance of this camera, I've noticed that most shots are okay. It's not perfect. Like if you get too close, it's still gonna get blurry. But if you're like half an arm's length away, it's perfectly fine. And it's much better than the original Ace Pro 1, where I did have an issue like shooting vlogs and stuff like that. That is no longer an issue here on the Ace Pro 2. And when it comes to creativity with the new Ace Pro 2, they've also added some new color profiles to play with, specifically some that have been designed by Leica, because the lens on this camera is actually co-engineered with Leica, which is a pretty famous and prestigious camera company. But as you can see here, we now have Leica Natural, we have Leica Vivid. For me personally, I don't really mess around with the color profiles. I pretty much film everything in standard color, so that's what you're gonna see in this video today. The new Ace Pro 2 also gets some spec bumps as well when it comes to frame rates and video resolutions and stuff, and that's thanks to a new chipset under the hood. Now, the new Ace Pro 2 has the same 5nm chipset that was available on the Ace Pro 1 and responsible for its incredible low light capabilities, but now on the Ace Pro 2, there's a secondary chip they're calling the Pro Imaging chip that's like offloading some of the stuff the main chip's doing and just opening up some new advantages to this camera. And those advantages include things like better low light capabilities, which we'll talk about in a minute. They've also included 4K 60p active HDR video, where in the past you were limited to 30 frames per second. And most importantly, and what I think is the most exciting about this camera, is that 8K resolution is now supported at 30 frames per second on the new Ace Pro 2. On the Ace Pro 1, you were stuck at 24 frames per second. I shoot everything at 30, so it's awesome that you can now shoot 8K at 30 frames per second. Even though this camera can shoot 8K resolution, it's not a mode you're gonna wanna leave it on all the time. Insta360 themselves says that you should only use 8K in well-lit situations where you're trying to capture the most detail. So if you're outside on a sunny day, that's a good time to use it. However, 8K will cause your camera to overheat over time. It uses more battery life, and it will struggle in low light situations, as well as eating up your SD card because the file sizes are so big. But another advantage to this camera having an 8K sensor is that it does have a lossless digital zoom. That means if you're shooting a wide shot and you want to zoom in on a detail in that frame, you can simply double tap on the screen, and using that 8K sensor, it will punch in and still give you a 4K image with no loss from that zoomed in image. So the zoom on this action camera is actually usable, where on a lot of other action cameras like the GoPros and the DJIs, when you zoom in, you do lose a lot of detail. Another big update to the Ace Pro 2 here is that it's now capable of shooting log. As you can see here in the settings, there's a little option for iLog. If I tap on that, I can turn it on, and you'll notice my image goes incredibly flat. It almost looks like a black and white image now. Now, even though this camera does have log, there is a drawback to the log, and it's that this camera is still a 8-bit camera, so it does not record 10-bit color like the GoPro Hero 13 Black or the DJI DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, you're stuck in 8-bit, which does not give you a full gamut of colors to work with. So if you are editing that log profile after the fact and really trying to push the colors, you will find that it falls apart a little bit early. If you don't know what I'm talking about right now, don't worry about it. Don't use the log profile. I don't, because it's just an added hassle after the fact. But if you are trying to color match your action camera footage to like a big camera, like a Sony or something like that, having a log profile makes it a lot easier. Another update to the Ace Pro 2 is that it now supports timecode as well. So if you're using multiple Ace Pro 2s to get multiple camera angles, you can sync them up in post a lot easier. What about low light situations? Because that's where these Insta360s really shine. This camera has a new updated pure video mode, which is their like dedicated low light mode. And I've done a whole bunch of testing. I've gone down the rabbit hole on this, and I'd say generally speaking, the pure video mode on the Ace Pro 2 is class leading in most situations. Insta360 claims that dual chipset architecture, by having 2 CPUs in there, they're able to offload some of the work that the main CPU is doing, and that's mainly with noise reduction and AI stuff when you're in a low light situation. And that's why the Ace Pro 2's pure video mode is supposed to be better than the Ace Pro 1's pure video mode. And in most situations, I'd have to say that's correct. The new Ace Pro 2 has very low noise, and in a lot of situations, it's producing a really good image with almost no light. As you can see here, for the most part, the GoPro is completely in the dark because it doesn't have a fancy low light dedicated mode like these other cameras. But the new Ace Pro 2 is pretty much going blow for blow with the new DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. However, in my testing so far, I did run into one quirk with the Ace Pro 2 here with its image quality in low light, and specifically with wacky colored lights. Now, hear me out here. It is currently October here in Massachusetts, and I myself love Halloween. So the front of my house, I've got a whole bunch of Halloween decorations with a bunch of different lights, and they're all colored from green to purple to blue to red, and it's like a carnival out there. So I thought it would be fun to do some testing out there with all of these action cameras, and that's where I ran into an issue on the Ace Pro 2. Only in this unique lighting situation, the Ace Pro 2 rendered my face almost like a cartoon character. It really blurred and smudged the details in my face almost intentionally. It seems like the camera was just overcompensating for that unnatural lighting and trying to get rid of all of the noise in my face. And after doing that, it just resulted in a blurry mess. I don't know what's going on there. And what's odd about that is that this issue on the Ace Pro 2 is not present on the Ace Pro 1. That camera actually did a decent job at rendering my face. Yes, there was a lot of noise and detail loss because of that, but there was no unnatural blurring or smudging on the Ace Pro 1. And on the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro as well, there was no smudging or blurring there either, even in its dedicated low light mode called Super Night mode. So I don't know what's going on here on the Ace Pro 2. I did give this feedback to Insta360, and it seems like they're working on it, so it may be an issue of the past as you see this video, but for now, it's still some weird anomaly in strange lighting. So if you're planning on filming at a carnival or a haunted house or something, just keep that in mind. For the most part though, this is not going to be an issue you'll probably even notice unless you're like me and filming Halloween decorations. In normal light, in low light with normal light colors, this camera is an absolute beast at low light situations. With image quality out of the way, let's talk about the microphones on the new Insta360 Ace Pro 2, because they're pretty darn impressive. And to be honest, that was the Achilles heel, in my opinion, of the original Ace Pro 1, that the built-in microphones were just not super crisp or clear, and they felt a little bit thin. All right, now we are out on the trail in somewhat of a shady area, and I'm curious how these cameras look in this kind of lighting condition. There is some sun coming through the trees, but generally speaking, pretty dimly lit out here. This is also a good opportunity to test out all of the different microphones on these cameras, because the new Insta360 Ace Pro does have an upgraded microphone system compared to the original Ace Pro. But I found that the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro also had a really good microphone in my testing. I like the way my voice sounded on it. And the GoPro is no slouch either. That also does a really good job. So I'm out here for science to test out to see which microphone sounds the best. Is it the new Insta360 Ace Pro 2? Is it the old Insta360 Ace Pro? The GoPro Hero 13 Black, Or is it the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro? The new Ace Pro 2 has an entirely new microphone array, along with that new windscreen that's built into the front of it, and the combination really has improved the audio quality from this camera substantially. Next up, let's talk about the stats overlay dashboard. This is really cool. So in the past, on the original Ace Pro 1 and all of the other Insta360 cameras, they introduced a way to import activity data, whether that be from your Garmin watch, from a Coros watch, from your Apple Watch, just about any GPS watch. You could pull in your GPS and heart rate data and then overlay those stats on the screen, which I thought was a lot of fun. So if you're going for a bike ride or a hike, you could show your speed, your elevation gain, your heart rate in real time in your video during that event. However, if you didn't own a Garmin or an Apple Watch, importing that GPS data was a lot more difficult. And that's where Insta360 has made a huge update to their app. So if you take a look here on my phone, I've got the Insta360 app loaded up. And one thing they've added is the ability to record activity data directly to your phone through the Insta360 app. And after you complete that activity using the phone and save it to the Insta360 app, it'll actually pair that data to the correct video file. So once you go to overlay stats like your speed or distance or whatever, it'll already be there because you recorded it with the Insta360 app. And in my opinion, this is genius, and I hope all of the other competitors out there do this as well, because it makes recording your GPS data a lot easier if you don't own a fancy watch like this. Now that we've gone through all of the new features and specs on the Ace Pro 2, what's missing about this camera? What could be better in my opinion? First of all, it's still an 8-bit camera. I would love for the Ace Pro 2 to be a 10-bit camera, maybe next time around. From what I understand, that's not something they can improve in a firmware update. We're kind of stuck with 8-bit on this camera for now. Another improvement I would make on this camera is the front display. This has the same front display as the Ace Pro 1 that just gives you basic information about your settings and stuff. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to preview your shot on this front display. And for someone like me who uses these cameras for mainly vlogging and primarily actively vlogging, like hiking or running, every time I take out the camera, I need to flip up the display. And that's just one extra thing I have to do. Where on these other action cameras, like on the GoPro, for example, there's a built-in display on the front that shows me a preview of my shot. So I just pull it out, hit record, and I'm ready to go. Another missed opportunity on the Ace Pro 2 is the built-in storage. It doesn't have any. You have to use a micro SD card, just like every other action camera. But if you know the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro here, this camera does have built-in storage, and in my opinion, it's super valuable. You don't have to worry about SD cards. You can plug it directly in your phone or into your computer and offload your footage, and it's super fast and reliable. I'd love to see more action cameras implement built-in storage. And the final thing I'd like to see improved on the Ace Pro 2 is the mount. I do like the magnetic mount that's included in the box, but it would be cool to see a 1/4-20 thread or even the little flip out fingers on the GoPro Hero 13 Black included on the Ace Pro 2 as well. It just gives it more versatility and more ways to mount it. With all of that being said, do I recommend the Ace Pro 2? Well, yes, it's a really nice camera. The footage coming out of this camera is quite amazing, and I really like the overall build quality, the experience, the app interface, the way you can overlay the GPS data, the low light capabilities, like it's all really good. So who is the Ace Pro 2 for? Well, I think this is a great camera for just about every use case out there, whether that be vlogging, action adventures, going underwater, diving, you name it, this camera can pretty much cover it. The image quality is very good, even though it's not 10-bit, it's still really good, and its audio quality with the built-in microphones are so good now that I kind of find myself reaching for this if I'm doing a vlog and planning to talk to the camera. Now, if you have an older Ace Pro 1, should you upgrade to the Ace Pro 2? Well, not necessarily. If you're still happy with the image quality, you don't mind the built-in microphone, and you don't mind the ability to remove your lens cover, the Ace Pro 1 is still a great camera. And I know a lot of you out there are going to want me to compare the new Ace Pro 2 to the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro or the GoPro Hero 13 Black. To be honest, all these cameras are so good now, it's hard to pick a winner. They all have their pros and cons. For example, the GoPro Hero 13 Black, yeah, it's not great in low light, but in good light scenarios, it still produces a really amazing image with great colors. Plus, it's got all of those accessories like the macro lens and the anamorphic lens and all of that stuff that make it super versatile. And the new DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro is also really good. It's got great low light capabilities, good image quality throughout the day, 10-bit video, and it ties in to the DJI ecosystem, so you can pair your DJI Mic 2 directly to it with no additional accessories, which is super cool. So I'm just gonna leave it there. I can't pick a winner between these cameras because, to be honest, it's really gonna boil down to what you're doing with them and what features you prioritize and find the most important. For me, they all do a great job, including the new Insta360 Ace Pro 2 here. It's a super fun camera to use, and the app experience is really good as well. But now's the point of the video where I want to hear from you. What camera are you gonna pick up? Are you gonna pick up the Ace Pro 2? Are you gonna get the DJI, the GoPro? Let me know in the comments down below what you're getting and why you're getting it. What's your specific use case? I'd love to hear from you. And after you're done leaving a comment down there, also check out the description down below where I will have links to go pick up your very own Insta360 Ace Pro 2 and a GoPro or a DJI. I'll have it all linked down there. Those links are affiliate links and they do help support this channel, but they cost nothing extra to use, so you might as well use them. And after you're done shopping down there, also make sure to check out the other links in my description down below that will bring you over to my other social media accounts like my Instagram, my Strava, my podcast, and of course, my merch store where you can pick up a sweet hat like that. All right, friends, if you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, make sure to give me a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel down below so you don't miss more videos from me in the future. And that's the end of this one. This got to be long-winded. I'm sorry about that, but I wanted to include everything. Okay, friends, I'll see you next time. Bye.